I see like illegal strategies being taught to their like followers or mentees or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, no, don't do this. This is not legal. It is unlawful to raise capital this way.
Today, we have an amazing guest. Veena, she runs a community called Multifi. She's a multifamily killer. She's, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have over $1 billion in transaction volume that you've been, a part of.
Yes. School is not designed to encourage this kind of thinking. You've been indoctrinated your whole life to believe that 40 hours and a paid vacation with a 401k is the standard. It's not.
You're telling me that gurus and the experts online might not actually know what the hell they're doing.
It's a relationship game. You have to lead with value. And leading with value is also not coming to me and saying, hey, Veena, what do you need help with? I don't know. Who are you? What can you do?
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Flippin' SoFlo. Today, we have an amazing guest, Veena, a badass entrepreneur woman, all right, paving the way for women, which I think is awesome. My girlfriend's in the business with me, so I'm all about that, and I'm all about empowering that. Obviously, I represent the Latino population, which is a minority, whatever, even though there's like 70 million of us, so I don't think we're a minority anymore. But so I'm all about it. I'm all about, spreading the awareness and, specific communities like women and stuff like that should definitely have more spotlighting in regards to, some leaders taking charge.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, to be fair, India is the most populated country in the world, and we're still considered a minority in America. So
yeah, that's true.
You can still be a minority.
Yeah. It's so funny because these stats keep changing every time, and I'm Cuban American. I'm first generation, but Latinos. There's so many countries that are considered Latinos, so it's like, man. And then you throw Puerto Ricans in there, and I'm like, are you really Latino because you're born with an American passport? I'm not really sure if we count that. But anyway,
we do. I think we count it still.
We count it. We count it either way. But they did. They did have the passport thing, which is cool for them.
To be fair, I say I'm Indian. I say I'm Indian American or East Indian American because I was born here. So I have the American passport, but like my family of origin is from India.
Right.
So I think we still have to count anybody that is like heritage wise or ethnically. I don't know though. I am not the one to make these rules. I just try to play by them.
Me either. People think I'm super white because I don't really look Cuban, or they're like, oh yeah, you're definitely Cuban. I'm like, I don't know how you make that distinction, but thank you. And Spanish is my first language. So for me, it's kind of, which I don't look like it would be, but I read it, I write it. It's my first language. So
do you know if you can speak Spanish and English, you can communicate with 80% of the world?
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
It's insane.
That's pretty cool.
It means 8 out of every 10 people on the planet, you can speak to them.
Let's obviously, for the people watching, a lot of my audience is in wholesaling or fix and flipping, more on the residential side. I've done very small commercial multifamily. I've been a landlord, but nothing of scale. It's just because those deals kind of came up through marketing. I believe in it. I have a lot of friends that are big boys, Tim Bratz and stuff like that, in the multifamily space. So trust me, I get it. The tax benefits are huge. The scalability is huge. The fact that you could go from 0 to literally 1,000, if in theory, is very big. Try buying 1,000 single family homes. I dare you. Good luck with that in one sitting. So, I see it. And of course, the tax implications or the benefits, better said, are amazing. Multifamily is for me at least, and for many real estate entrepreneurs, we start off somewhere, and an end goal is to be a multifamily or a commercial, triple net leases, stuff like that, as an owner, because it's just got so many benefits that the residential single family side doesn't. With that being said, I did a little bit of research on you, but for the people here, how did you end up getting started there? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't have like a traditional start in the, single family space and stuff like that.
I did. I did start in single family, but it was
Okay.
like a very short stint because I very quickly realized that I hate that it doesn't scale. I
Mm.
hated that I was capped at whatever. And at that time, I didn't know Pace Morby, so I didn't know about creative finance. I thought it was you put 20% down and then you get a mortgage and then you rent it out and then you maybe rehab it or refi it or whatever you do with it, right? So I
Hmm.
was like, okay, like everybody else, right? I was like, I watched Fix or Flop or Flip or Flop or whatever on HGTV. I was like, how hard can this be? They just went and bought a house for $100,000 and then they put in $10,000 and they made $1 million. That sounds great. I'm doing that. I know you're laughing now because we both know that this is like the dumbest thought I maybe
No
have ever had.
permits, no nothing. Just go through.
No, I didn't. No, no. And also on like those shows, they do like a $70,000 renovation. They're like, this costs $27. You know, okay, I could do this. I had no idea about numbers. So I started buying, I was actually in corporate real estate. I was at one of the largest real estate firms in the world, a multi-billion dollar company. I had a $1 billion asset that I was on the team for. And I was making a lot of money for someone else. I got married in 2012, and my husband and I paid taxes as a married couple, both W-2 high income earners. And we paid like multiple six figures in taxes.
Yeesh. That
And
hurts.
yeah, I called my mom and I was like, Mom, can you believe this just happened? What do I do? She's like, you should quit your job. And I was like, my mother is telling me to quit my job at like a very stable, like well-known company.
Right.
She was like, you should quit your job. The IRS does not incentivize you to go be an employee. They incentivize business owners and real estate investors. So go start a business and make your business real estate investing.
Go, mom.
Right. And I was like, okay, this seems legit. And so I quit my job. And I started investing for myself. I started buying single family homes. Like I said, I watched like HGTV. It made me an immediate expert.
Yeah.
And so then I started buying condos in DC.
Mm.
And I started buying homes in Dallas. And in Dallas, I remember I had put 5 houses under contract in 1 week. And I was like, wow, this is not scalable. I hate this. I don't want to chase tenants for their rent. I'm like lying to them all the time. And I'm not a good liar because I have a very guilty conscience. So I'm like, oh, my boss is going to fire me if I don't collect rent. And then they're like, Miss Veena, but we can't afford diapers for this cute little baby. And I'm like, oh, okay, then you can like skip rent this month. I was so bad at it. I cannot be the one interacting with tenants. And I was still getting like my legs under me. So I didn't even have confidence to address it. And so then I was like, I need something that scales better. And I loved the residential side. I love the idea of investing in a community, being a space for somebody that they come home to and they can just be themselves. And like for me, home is really big. And so I love the idea of providing that. And that's where multifamily like really opened my eyes. And that's where I learned how to really raise capital. That's like the most important skill set that I probably have learned over my career. And I say this because wholesalers and flippers don't realize a lot of times, especially when they start out, that you can be raising capital to fund like 10 flips at a time and forget hard money. You can be much more efficient with your capital and you get to scale so much faster if you learn how to raise capital, how to do it lawfully. So you do need a securities attorney. We use Nick McGrew out of LA, Polymath Legal. He's amazing, but he can help you create a fund, which now you can like super juice your returns to your investors. You can do more deals. You can scale much faster.
Agreed. All right. So there's a lot to unpack there.
Yes.
So I was in corporate America. I was at Merrill Lynch. My story is a little bit different. I got the cannonball exit. I got fired and I was in New York. I came back home and I stumbled. That's why I say it, because I did stumble into wholesaling through a podcast, kind of like this, which is why podcasts will probably forever have a piece of my heart, because it was, Sean Terry was the podcast that I heard at the time, Flip to Freedom. And that's how I got started. But throughout my career, I've been in it for 7 years. I've raised, quite a bit of money. I don't use hard money. I haven't used hard money in probably 4 years or so. I only use private capital or not a fund per se, but, close relationships. I'm always raising money. I have a really good friend, Austin Rutherford. The guy's a stud at raising private capital to fund BRRRR projects and keep all his rentals. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
As a dude that scaled a wholesale operation to 150 plus deals a year, that's awesome, and it looks very sexy, but it's also a huge brain damaging activity, to say the least. And there's a lot that goes into that. And I have a mentor that he's a big multifamily guy. He always says, you're still out there doing onesies and twosies, and he says it in a funny way, but
all that.
it's onesies and twosies. And it really is, because multifamily, I mean, I got my first rentals. I went from 0 rentals to 16 doors in a month. And it was a 16 unit owner finance with spectacular terms, something I learned from Merrill. So I was grateful for that, how to negotiate the best terms. And I ended up with 16 doors. And I raised capital for the down payment to the 20% for like I did all this stuff on the fly. And I don't say that to impress anybody. I say that because a Bobo could do that and figure it out. And I did it on the fly. And I somehow ended up with 16 doors. And I was like, oh shit, now what do I do? And I self-managed them for a year, which was, So I was building out a wholesale company and self-managing 16 doors. It was a whole lot of fun at 26 years of age. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, at 26, you still have like energy for all of this. I'm 37 now with 2 children. So I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So
how did you make the transition from, okay, I'm doing these houses in Texas and DC. I want to get into multifamily. I mean, there must have been a moment where you're like, all right, this is dumb. I got to do this. And how does that transition work?
Well, so actually a friend of mine came to me and said, hey, we have this deal. It's in Dallas. Are you interested in maybe partnering up on it? And I was like, I don't really know what is it? He's like, well, we're buying it for 15.9 million. It's 200 doors in Dallas. And I was like, that's a lot of money. I don't have $16 million. It's like, we'll raise it. I was like, raise it? What do you mean we'll raise it? And he was like, yeah, we're going to go, we're going to raise from investors, and then we'll use it to buy it, and then we'll pay them back and we'll give them a great return. And I was like, this seems illegal. And that was actually my thought. I was like, this seems like you can't just like raise money from people. So I went to Nick, who I had already been working with. I worked with him actually in my corporate career. And he was like, yeah, you can do this. And he's like, let me tell you about a security and Reg D, 506B and 506C. And so like he gave me the rundown. He's like, I've been telling you should do this. I was like, I didn't understand what you were saying before, but now I get it. So it's legit. You can do it. And I was like, okay. I mean, obviously you have to take the proper steps, do the right paperwork, file the right exemptions with the SEC, all that. But he's like, yeah, there's no issue with this. So it's like, okay, it kind of feels illegal to know that when you first know it.
Yeah.
And so I went out and I had to raise 1.2 million. And I cried myself to sleep every single night for 6 weeks because no one wanted to give me money. And because I didn't have a proven track record in multifamily, we ended up delivering massive returns to our investors on that deal. And, the first one's always the hardest deal. And then it doesn't get easier, but you get better. And I actually just added up how much capital we've raised as of 2 weeks ago. And over the course of our portfolio, we have now raised $374,315,000.
Holy moly. Let's just say congratulations. Number one, there's a lot of people that can't even count that high, let alone actually raise that. Yeah, right. I can't count that high. That's a big number, but that's over what, like a 10-year period, 11-year period?
Yeah, a little bit less than 10 years.
So you've averaged $30 million a year, more or less.
Well, interestingly, no, because when I started, it was like much smaller clips. But last year we raised 66 million. The year before that, we raised, I think we raised like 50 something, 55 million.
Incredible. So incredible. And these are all, so for the listeners, big takeaway for me, at least, learn how to raise capital. Do it the right way.
Yes.
Don't be a dummy.
Important. That's important.
Yeah, do it the right way. Consult an attorney, a good one, and or a few probably, and get that in a row so that you don't go to jail before you even own multifamily. That's important for the viewers. Secondly, when you are buying these, would you consider this a syndication, or so it's a syndication and you're staying in as an LP or limited partner?
We stay in, so we invest alongside our investors as an LP. We also sit on the GP side, the general partnership side.
Okay, so for people that are watching, me too, treat me like a dummy.
Yeah, okay.
What's a GP, LP? Do you do a PPM, a private placement memorandum, all that kind of stuff?
Yes. Okay. So the first thing I have to say is not all attorneys are securities attorneys. A real estate attorney is not a securities attorney. A securities attorney sometimes can do real estate law, like our attorney Nick does both, but he's primarily a securities attorney. It's a very important note because I've had people, we're LPs in other deals, and I've had people send me a PPM and I'm like, this doesn't really check out or make sense. And they're like, oh no, our attorney did it. And I'm like, okay, send me the name of your law firm. Because I'm like, never use this law firm. And I go and it's like the family law offices of Susie Smith. And I'm like,
nice.
Really? The divorce attorney is doing your securities offering? No,
amazing.
Thanks. Good.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so not all attorneys are securities attorneys. So that's number one. Number two, just because they are securities attorneys, it doesn't make them good. I know this because I've seen other securities attorneys' documents, and my attorney has like fixed other securities attorneys' documents. So just be aware that they're not all created equal. It's the, it's like that joke. My husband always says this joke. He's like, what do they call the person who graduated last from med school? I'm like, what?
Doctor.
Doctor. I'm like, okay, I get it. Point taken, honey, because he's a doctor. So this is like his joke, whatever. So anyway, an LP and a GP. So an LP is a limited partner. That is who your investors are. These are the people that are writing you the checks. They're the people that are trusting you to go out and make them more money. Now, a GP or a general partner is someone like me who is on the operational decision-making control side of the deal. And we put out a PPM, which is a private placement memorandum. This is where your securities attorney will help you prepare these documents. It will have the proper disclosures. It'll have all of the risks, everything that you need to give to your investors before you take their money. Okay. So Nick gives me my PPM. We go through it. We redline, whatever. I then take it out to my investors. I say, hey, I'm a sponsor of this deal. A lot of people will confuse sponsor and general partner. Oftentimes they are the same individual. They do not always have to be, and they are not interchangeable. So a sponsor is the person who's actually standing behind the deal and sponsoring the deal. The general partner is just the person who is maybe like signing on the loan. They sit on the GP side of that's the actual ownership. So you can a lot of times have general partners. Like if you have a key principal who's guaranteeing your loan, they're a GP or a general partner, but they're not a sponsor of the deal. They're not going out and raising the capital. They're not the face of the capital raise. So we're
very
both.
Important distinction, by the way.
Very important distinction. And you would be surprised at how many people in the multifamily space do not know or understand this distinction. Like even people who like are teaching and have courses, like they're just not as well versed on legal structures. So it's important for you to understand this so you can have a more intelligent conversation.
So let me just time you out there for a second. Sorry. You're telling me, yeah, it's going to be free flowing, but you're telling me that gurus and the experts online might not actually know what the hell they're doing. You're kidding. Wow. To everyone watching this right now, my heart is shattered in sarcasm because I know a lot of them, and it pains me to see it and to watch it go down. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It is wild. I always say I have students on the wholesaling side, and I always tell people, I'm like, listen, you should trust but verify. No matter who it is. I don't care who it is. I've been in rooms with certain people that I'm in shock at, like, did this dude or girl really just ask that? And this is the person with 200,000 followers that is like the expert because their video editing is badass. It just blows me away. It really does.
it's scary for me, and quite frankly, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because like this is like if someone doesn't know the difference between a GP and a sponsor, like whatever, this is not material really, but I see like illegal strategies being taught to their like followers or mentees or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, no, don't do this. This is not legal. It
Yeah.
is unlawful to raise capital this way. And this is the one thing I always hear is, oh, but it's a loophole.
Uh,
No, it's not a loophole. The
uh,
SEC is very clear about this.
mm,
This is not a loophole. And there's so many times where I'll call Nick and I'll be like, hey, this person said this. Is this accurate or not accurate? He's like, absolutely not accurate. And he will tell me, he's like, what happens is clients will give him a piece of the story, but like they'll leave out one sentence, which completely changes the legal advice. So when you hire your securities attorney, be transparent with them. Tell them exactly what you plan to do, how you plan to do it, who you plan to do it with, what every single, even if you don't think it's an important detail, it is important.
Very all right. You're a wealth of knowledge. So look, we're not trying to scare anybody here, and I don't want anybody to get that notion, but this is a very complex world, right?
Yeah.
Wholesaling is obviously less complex, but I see this stuff all the time. The way that people teach marketing, and oh yeah, you can cold call somebody. No, you can't. You can get in big trouble. The FTC will come down on you. Ask me how I know. It happens all the time. You got to be very careful. And just because you're scrubbing on do not call doesn't mean shit. Be very careful when you're dealing with, the difference between, and you're probably going to touch on this, but an accredited investor and a non-accredited investor, big difference. And we'll get into the details, but legally huge exposure difference between one and the other. And Veena can touch on the details, but anyway, getting back to this. So I heard three things. So there's a GP, there's an LP, which is a general partner, there's a limited partner, then you have your PPM, which is, let's call that the documentation, the private placement memorandum, which really describes, hey, here's what we're looking to raise, here's what we're looking to do, this is the structure, da 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 da. It is your security document.
Yes.
If you will.
Exactly.
Okay. And then from there, the nuances are, okay, they're going to be a GP. They're going to also be a sponsor. They may not be a sponsor, etc. Yeah. And then I would assume this is all tiered off by the size of the amount of raise that you're doing, right? It's not the same thing raising $1 million to 20 million.
The principles are the same. The exemptions you use are going to be highly dependent on what kind of a deal you're doing, what the time frame is, how much you need. So for example, there's 4 major exemptions that we really use in the real estate world. The first one is Reg A, which you can raise an unlimited amount, but it takes 6 to 8 months to set up and do properly, and it costs about $200,000-ish to get that set up properly. So it takes a long time. It's very labor and capital intensive.
Okay.
Most people don't do that because real estate deals move pretty quickly. So it's very hard to set up a Reg A and then go out, offer it, raise the capital, and still be able to close the deal, because no one in real estate waits for like a year for a close, right? So that's one. The other exemption that's like kind of like Reg A, and the reason people like or are drawn to Reg A is because you can raise from both accredited or unaccredited investors.
Interesting.
And then Reg CF is the same, but a Reg CF is capped at $5 million in a calendar year. So you can't raise more than $5 million, which we're buying. Like our last deal was $131.5 million. $5 million is like a rounding error on my closing statement. I can't do anything with a $5 million raise. I needed $66 million. So that's the second exemption. Again, the time frame and the amount of capital usually makes it not conducive to most real estate deals. The two that are more commonly relied on are Reg D, Rule 506B, and 506C. So 506B allows us to raise an unlimited amount of capital, and we can raise from both sophisticated, unaccredited, but sophisticated, and accredited investors. You can have as many accredited investors in the deal as you want. You can have only 35 unaccredited but sophisticated investors. The downside is you cannot raise a single dollar from anybody that you do not have a pre-existing substantive relationship with. And you cannot publicly solicit or advertise. So I cannot go and put it in a Facebook group of real estate investors that I'm raising this money unless I have a pre-existing substantive relationship with every person in that group. The 506C allows you to go and solicit, generally solicit and publicize. It allows you to raise unlimited capital, but you can only have accredited investors in your deal, and you cannot ask for a self-attestation, meaning in a 506B, I can say, hey, Will, are you accredited? And you say, yes, no, whatever. And you'll fill out a form explaining to me why you're accredited. In a 506C, I can't say like, hey, are you accredited? And you say yes. And I'm like, great, I trust you. I have to actually get documentation. I have to take reasonable steps to verify the status of the investor. So for us, that means we ask you to get third-party verification. So we have like an unbiased opinion. And if the SEC asks us, we can say, no. See, Will's CPA said he's accredited. That's why we had every reason to believe it was true. And as what is an accredited investor? There's two major ways that most investors will meet the definition. It is either having an income of $200,000 or more for the last 2 years with a reasonable expectation of maintaining that if you're single, or $300,000 if you are married, the household income at $300,000 or more. The other way that if you don't meet the income requirement, because like we don't meet the income requirement because we show massive losses on our taxes from depreciation, right? So when the government looks at me, they're like, no, you don't make any money. In fact, you're losing money every year. So we meet it through the net worth requirement. And the net worth requirement is that your net worth, meaning assets minus liabilities, is over $1 million minus the equity in your primary home. So let's say California investors, right? Like everyone in California has like $1 million sitting in their primary home because real estate appreciates so fast there. So let's say you have $500,000 in your primary home, and then you have $500,000 between cash, stock, equity, and rental properties. All of that can be counted, but the $500,000 in your home cannot go toward your net worth requirement. So based on that, if you take out the primary home and you're still worth $1 million after you take all your liabilities away from your assets, then you're an accredited investor. And there's no test, there's nothing. You just have to get the sign off from someone who is familiar with your financial picture.
Got it. All right. So again, I'm hearing there's a lot of CYA going on here. There's a lot of cover your ass going on here for the listeners out there. Me personally, I've dealt with a ton of transactions, but me, if I was getting into this, just for the listeners, I would go to an expert like Veena and I would say, hey, I want to learn this. Let me learn this through your community. That's even me, because I don't want to. She just named like 35 different mistakes that I could make without even knowing that I was making that mistake. Yeah, I could go to jail. So, with that being said, I'd much rather. I tell the same thing. Again, different principle, different scale, but I tell the same thing when people want to get into real estate. I'm like, listen, don't try to YouTube University this thing. Could you do it? Yes. You could do it on your own like I did. Yes. Even though I pieced it together from, it was kind of like a hodgepodge of everything, but it took me so much longer. I just went and found a mentor, and then I just went right through, or a community, So I would say the same thing. If you're just getting started out, joint venture with somebody who has a buyer's list, who has experience, who knows what they're doing, who can tell you before you run 2 months and waste your time on a deal, hey, this is a deal or not a deal. I mean, wouldn't you like to know that? It's the same thing with her, except that you're dealing with a lot more zeros on this behalf. and definitely there's more points of failure. I mean, it just is what it is. So for someone that is sitting watching this and says, man, this sounds very overwhelming, it's daunting, right? There's a lot of intricacies, as there should be, because it's a lot of money happening. Where can they get started?
Okay, so first and foremost, you can go, actually, I have a free Facebook group. You can join there, but you should go on to Instagram, follow different people that are in the space, and find the person that resonates with you the most. You and I were talking about this, like, trust but verify. You don't need to just believe someone who says they've done something, right? And I tell people this even when they join Multifi. I'm like, don't just believe everything that I tell you. Ask me questions to make sure, or go find the information to fact check what I'm saying. Because I'm human too. I can make mistakes. I'm not going to make mistakes about telling someone to raise capital like in a completely wrong way. And I'm not going to make excuses for that. But I don't believe that people are trying to be malicious when they're teaching this, right? Like they really believe it and they really think this is true. And I've just had the incredible luck of having very good relationships with my attorneys and my CPAs and my strategic partners, right? So I got lucky along the way. So if you want to do this, go and start immersing yourself in the space. Go to meetups, go to events. Like a lot of people skip going to in-person events, but that's like the most powerful place to meet partners. This is where you meet your future partners, your future investors, people you're going to buy from, people you're going to sell to. Like there are conferences that are dedicated to this. So go to those.
100%. So, I mean, obviously they can follow you, right? What's your, what's your best place for people to follow you?
So believe it or not, I respond to my own messages on Instagram, which everyone tells me I'm crazy, but
so do I. It's okay.
It's the only thing I like can't let go of it because I just love interacting with.
Yeah.
I'm a people person, and so I'm like,
Yeah.
you've taken my phone, you've taken my email, you've taken my text, you've taken my Facebook. You cannot take this from me. So this is the one place I'm like still holding on to, but it is starting to get harder and harder to manage.
Sure.
But yeah, you can follow me there. I do a live between 4 and 7 times a week. I do a live and you can ask questions there. You can go to Mastering Multifamily with Veena Jetti and you can join there for free. I have veenajetti.com where I have an entire free masterclass under education and resources. I actually recorded that with Pace, so you guys can join there and you guys can watch all the videos there. It's like 9 or 10 hours of content. It's a lot of content. And then you can also do, I have a free investor challenge, which will help you kind of think about your framework around raising capital. Is a really great place to start. And go find Nick the lawyer, NIC the lawyer on Instagram. He does a lot of securities education, which I love because it's so easy to digest. He's not like, you have these like boring stuffy lawyers that are like, and then we will put this clause after the previous, and you're like,
I was just on a Zoom call right before this with a gentleman very similar to that, where I was just like, I have no idea what you're saying anymore. I've lost all interest. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I'm sorry. Will to continue listening after 3 minutes.
You have to listen. This is a lot of stuff to digest. You have to make it fun to a certain degree. You have to make it relatable, and you have to bring it. Listen, I'm telling you, like I have mentors that they own $750+ million worth of real estate. It's very difficult to understand that and to fathom that when you're doing a couple $100,000 in real estate, or even worse, if you're just getting started out and this is the first place you land. How the hell are you going to quantify? Hey, she just bought a $163 million building. Great.
Right.
I don't have $163 in my bank account.
Right.
How am I going to, million X that?
I love that you're saying that because I think a lot of people think you have to have millions of dollars to do this, and you don't. You just have to know how to find people with hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think a lot of us teach about this because we figured out how to do that. And I'm like you, I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have a course, and the community that I wanted didn't exist. So that's how Multifi was born. I created it because I didn't find the people that made me feel like I belong here. I deserve to be here. And that's how Multifi was really born. But I also, do you know Jerry Norton?
Yeah, of course.
Flipping Mastery. Okay, so he's a good friend of mine. I did like a whole 14-part series on his YouTube channel teaching wholesalers how to flip using raised capital. And Nick actually does like a segment in there too. So there's like a lot of free resources. It's a good place to start. But once you start there, and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to wholesale, right? Go find yourselves a will and go immerse yourself in his community. Go ask him, what does it take for me to be in proximity to you? Usually for people that are flipping 150 houses a year, it's going to be cut me a check and I'm going to condense this. And everyone comes to me and asks me like, I want the easy button. And I'm like, this is the easy button. Multifi is the easy button. Like, but so hard. You still have to work really hard. Like, this is not easy.
Oh yeah.
There's no thing I'm going to tell you or give you or say to you that is going to make you not have to work hard.
No.
You have to.
No. And again, like we have a lot of mutual friends and acquaintances in common, but like Pace and I talk about this, right? Like when he did my podcast, it's very difficult. As you scale up and as you get out there into the public and the open, whatever, social media, if you will.
Yes.
And, I'm very protective of my time. For anyone listening to this, I always say the same thing. Go back to my first videos. It's the same thing I'm about to say right now. You need to lead with value. If you're looking to attract Veena's attention or my attention, doesn't matter. This is not us being arrogant. This is us being honest and telling you exactly what to do with us or anyone of substance. I guarantee you this will work. Lead with value. Do not lead, for example, with, hey, can I take you to coffee so I can pick your brain and for 30 minutes? That is the dumbest, most disrespectful thing you can do. Because number one, it's a $5 cup of shitty coffee, probably. Number two, I have to stop everything I'm doing. She has to stop everything she's doing for 30 freaking minutes, an hour and a half, as if we could somehow transfer and upload 7 years, 12 years of experience in a 30-minute sitting. Wouldn't that be nice? So no. You're going to have to lead with value. And what that would look like for me, for example, would be, hey, I have this deal. I'd like to joint venture with you on it so you can make some money. And now I have your time. And then you can teach me. I've done that with a ton of people and we all make money. They're going to make a lot more money because I have a better buyers list and all this stuff. Or I could tell them right on the spot, hey, I appreciate that. However, this deal sucks. Okay, cool. Yeah. Why does it suck? It sucks because of this. Then they go out and now, but at least I appreciate how they came across. With you, it might be a little bit different, obviously, because it's more complex, but hey, get into this community, do this. Hey, this is how you find these types of deals. If you find anything like this, bring it and then we will analyze it. I'm sure that's happened for you.
I feel like we're at church because you're preaching right now. I love this. Yes.
I get on some tangents. I get excited.
Well, it really drives me nuts when someone's like, oh, can I buy you lunch or can I buy you a cup of coffee? No, I'm going to buy my own stuff so that I don't have to spend an hour of my time just draining everything I have. And it's the reason it's disrespectful is not because you are working up the courage. I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that hustle. But it's the same way I started raising capital. I went to people and I was like, hey, do you want to invest in this deal? And people are like, whoa, like, let's pump the brakes. It's a relationship game. You have to lead with value. And leading with value is also not coming to me and saying, hey, Veena, what do you need help with? I don't know. Who are you? What can you do? Don't give me the homework.
I totally forgot to mention that. You nailed it. We must be like vibing here, telepathy. But seriously, dude, when you ask someone that, your intention is pure. I get it. Hey, what can I do for you? Hey, could I work for free? Could I come shadow you?
No.
Now what you did was just throw a pile of shit on my desk. And now I have to stop, think about, what am I missing in my life that you could do for me? No, I'm sorry. I could go pay somebody for that. I don't need that. You either show up with value or you don't. And the way that you show up with value, ladies and gentlemen, is by making it easier or as easy as possible for that other person to say, yes, I'll give you 10 minutes. No problem. What's up?
Yes. Like, give me something that I can use as a teaching moment for the community. If you are like, hey, Veena, I want to do a Zoom with you. I want to talk about this problem. You can use it in Multifi. I'm much more inclined to do that. Right now, I do that only really with my Multifi community because they know the vision. They believe in the community and the community standards. But and I answer them on my lives, for example. You come to my lives and you ask me a question. If I can get to it, I will answer it. No problem there. But yet, to your point, asking me, what can I do to add value to you? I don't know what your skill set is. You haven't told, I don't know who you are. I don't know what my business needs. The best form of value that I've seen poured into me and gifted to me really was there is a guy by the name of Andreas. He's in the Multifi community. He found me first, came to my masterclass, loved it. And he's a CEO for a pretty large, one of the conglomerate companies of a Fortune 100. So he's very successful by all measures. And he came to me for mentorship on multifamily because this is like the side thing that he's doing and soon to be full-time thing. But he was like, hey, I notice these holes in the community. I have experience with A, B, and C. I would love to hop on a call with you to help you strategically go through it and get a plan in place. Amazing. Now I know what my problem is. You've identified it. You've shown up enough. You've been around me enough. You've been in proximity to me enough to have identified a weak spot I have. You told me that there's a problem. You are giving me a solution and you're telling me how you can solve that problem for me. Massive amounts of value.
That's why he's the CEO of a conglomerate of a Fortune 500.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that guy's probably making 7 figures a year. That's why he's doing that, because that's probably what he did in that organization time and time and time again. And it became so invaluable that they're like, hey, we're going to put you at the top of the totem pole and we're going to pay you a lot of money. That's exactly what.
That's exactly right. And so, but it's like such a good example of leading with value. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have anything to give. Everybody has value. I don't care what you are, who you are. I don't care what you've done. I don't care about your education. I don't care about your work experience. Every single person has something of value to offer everybody else. You have to figure out what that is. I can't do that for you.
Agreed. And if you literally cannot, and I'm more blunt than Veena is, but if you literally cannot come up with something, then you really need to reassess why you suck and why you can't even come up with something. And clearly you're not trying hard enough. Don't give me that bullshit of, oh, well, I don't know. This is why your life is where it's at. So take a look at that and then pour value into something. When I started, the way that I started was I cold called the guy that was on that podcast because he was in Miami. And literally the first thing that came out of my mouth, and the only thing I could think of, I was fired. I had a bunch of credit card debt and student loan debt because I had gone to Wall Street and I graduated, whatever. But I got fired about a year in. And the only thing that I could conjure up was I got this Bank of America credit card with like $25,000 in open line. Living at home with my mom now after living in Manhattan. What can I give to this guy? Well, I can split my first 5 deals with him 50-50. I didn't know if it was going to work, but that's exactly what I said. And I cold called him. I lied to his secretary. And I said, if you teach me this, I will not only pay for the marketing, but I'll split my first 5 deals with you 50-50. There was a moment of silence. And he said, can you come in tomorrow at 11? And we did. And 91 days later, that was that. I think he cleared like 60 grand and we cleared around 60 grand. Do you think I had a great relationship with him after the fact? I did. Right. And now his phone was available to me at any time. But again, and I've had people hear this story, then they've done that full circle with me. And now they're students of mine or JV partners of mine. And I love it because they see when that light bulb goes off and then we crush a deal together and make 100K together. I mean, that's life-changing for a lot of people, but for real, they're like, damn, dude, I'm so glad I asked you this way. I'm so glad that I brought it this way. And that same principle, by the way, I'm curious to know if you would agree with this. That's gotten me into rooms, you know, as you scale up, the numbers just keep getting bigger. The people keep getting more interesting and you have to keep one-upping, right? You can't do the same things that what got you out of Rome will not get you into the promised land. That is a fact. So that's gotten me into rooms with guys worth 100 million, 200 million, because I just figure out, okay, even at 100 million, there's not a lot that guy or girl can want, but there's something I'm sure that I could find that I could supercharge and add value to them. So let me find that and let me do that. And now you stick out from the, you know, typical douchebag that's like, hey, I love you, man. I've been following you forever. And man, if I could just have a moment of your time, get out of here. You're out of here.
Well, I think it's also disrespectful because like, I know I have, I'm pretty sure you have, like we put out a ton of free education, but 2, and probably more importantly, we have already taken the time to thoughtfully condense and structure the biggest things and how we did what we did. We've already condensed it into whatever like course content or whatever materials or guides or book or whatever. And it just is so disrespectful to be like, I need a minute of your time. Okay, have you watched every video in my vault? No, you haven't. So you may not ask me a single question that I've answered in my videos.
I think it's a great rule.
Yeah, you cannot ask me that.
Because what I always ask is, have you taken action?
Yeah.
Even if it gets to that point, but I'm like, have you even made, well, so how many people did you call? Well, I called like 11 and 9 of them told me to go pound sand. And then I didn't call back the other 2. And I'm like, so what are you doing here? What are you doing here? You don't have a me problem. You have a you lazy problem. Yeah. Like, I got to fix your mindset on top of everything. No, man, I'm not here for that. We're here to grow. We're here to make money. And again, I think for sure, when somebody is in a position that you perceive you want to be in, they will always at least admire and respect the fact that you are trying and you're actually getting out there and doing something about it. Yeah. You're more than likely, and I'm a big universe guy, but you're more than likely, based on the law of attraction, you're going to get something good in return. I guarantee it. There's no way that you're not, right? But if you're lazy and you're half-assing it and you're like, well, I really just want some free shit from this person. Dude, don't be shocked when you get sent somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody wants to feel like a transaction, right? Like you have to build a relationship, and you have to, like, I try to add value to people, whether it's through a podcast or a live or a free webinar or a conference, or I'm speaking on a stage. It doesn't matter. I'm always trying to add value and serve the people I'm talking to.
I love it. I love it. So back to multifamilies. Yes. We can go on this topic. It looks like forever, but back to multifamily and stuff like that. So right now, obviously, interest markets have changed, right? In the last 24 months, big time. We went from the lowest rates historically ever seen to probably the fastest acceleration of the highest rates historically ever seen. So it's no surprise to me why people are shocked that some stuff is starting to break. It's no shock. Office space has been decimated. That sector, right? There's great opportunities there, by the way. But how has that affected multifamily and what you're doing? Is it more just, hey, we need to adjust our underwriting. Hey, we need to be more conservative, for the cap rates, et cetera. Or, what does that mean? Yeah.
So obviously interest rates have moved a lot. There's $47 billion of loans, multifamily loans, that are expiring in 2024. It's a very interesting time because there's a lot of things coming together to create like a perfect storm in the multifamily space. 1 being interest rates being really high, 2 being a lot of debt expiring, 3, the national rents have started softening. So plans that were viable 18, 24, 36 months ago are not necessarily at all viable anymore. And so all of these things coming into play at the same time means there's a lot of opportunity for multifamily investors. I think that this window is going to be very short. I don't think we're there yet, but I think toward the end of 2024, early 2025, we'll start kind of seeing some of those opportunities. I'm starting to see some of them, but I think we'll see a lot more opportunities toward the end of this year, early next year. And so I'm really excited for what's to come. But yes, obviously we have to adjust underwriting now. We're not underwriting to the same standards that we were even just 18 months ago, where it's a constant evolution to keep in line with market conditions. And, we're a little bit more conservative. And so even our estimations and our predictions, we were made fun of back in 2021 for underwriting to rate increases. People were like, are you crazy? This is so dumb. And I was like, well, we can't keep 3% interest rates forever. Yeah. And even our underwriting was not conservative enough to account for the sharp spike in interest rates. And so, underwriting is an art just as much as it is a science, and you want to be really investing with people and working with people and joining communities of people who really understand the nuance behind the numbers and what they mean and can help you understand what the true risk is. Because especially when you're raising capital, right? You're taking on risk of other people's money. It's a very different burden to bear than when I lose my own money.
Huge. Yeah. You're a custodian now. You're a fiduciary. I mean, there's a lot of roles legally, morally, ethically. I mean, you might have somebody who's like, hey, this is all my life savings, 400,000 that I'm putting into this deal. Talk about looking at it into, a more responsible role. Not that you'd ever want to lose, anybody who had $40 million, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You don't ever want to lose a dime. But so a couple more questions and then we'll kind of just wrap up here. But so with that being said, what types of cap rates are you looking for typically?
Well, there was a time where all of our deals we saw were like sub 4 caps, 4.5 cap was
I
hitting.
remember those times.
Those were the good old days. If you were exiting deals, if you're trying to buy them, it was much more difficult. So now in today's market, Class B value add deals, especially in the markets we transact in, which is Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Arizona. We're looking at on institutional quality assets. We're seeing like around 5.25, 5.5. Now, depending when this episode releases, that could be way off base. But today, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, it's going to be about 2 to 3 weeks. So I think you'll hopefully you'll still be there. If that changes that quickly, we might have a bigger problem.
Anyone's guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, how many units do you guys have under management? I mean, you've stayed on a bunch of these deals, right? Throughout 11 years or so.
Yeah. So I sold 7 of our deals in 2022, the first quarter of 2022, which I was very lucky because I exited right before everything moved. And
perfect.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And I was very lucky. So I sold 7 deals. So at that time we had between 5,000 and 6,000 doors. Now I think we're at like 2,500, 3,000 doors. We probably have about, our gross asset value is probably around like 550 million. I don't
550 million.
I think so. Yeah.
That's
Today.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Good for you. And
Thank
how
you.
big is a team that runs this?
Yep. So I have my team and then we have a JV partner and both the companies work together on every deal. And between our sister company payroll and our payroll, we have 13 employees.
13 people run all that.
Yeah.
But do you self-manage or you have a management company? What?
We use third-party management, and that 13 employees does not count on-site employees. So the general rule of thumb is for every 100 doors or so, you have 1 employee in leasing. So 1 inside, 1 outside. So 1 employee in leasing and 1 employee in maintenance. So if you have 100 doors, you likely have 2 people working on that. So, you have 1,000 doors, you have 20 people working on that. So we probably have about 50
Yeah, I was gonna say like another, I don't know, 40 people or something.
Yeah. But that's on the property side. So we consider that separately of like our core business.
Amazing. And the plan here, tell a little bit of where people can find you again, Multifi, right? The plan here is to build out that community, to teach other people, to join venture with them, right? I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite thing now is not even doing deals. It's fun. It's fine. I love the deals that we do. I'm very bullish on our deals. However, the thing that excites me and fills up my cup is really being able to help someone else do their first deal or go from 10 million to 100 million or go from 100 million to 500 million. And so that's why Multifi exists. It's my third baby. It's the thing I pour the most amount of time and energy and effort into outside of, my family and Vive Funds is Multifi. And so if you want to find me, you can find me on social media, Veena Jetti on all platforms. You can come to my free Facebook group. I speak on a lot of stages. So you can always come hang out with me. And I like to talk to people at conferences. I'm not one of those speakers that's like, okay, I'm done. And then I like jet off. I actually prefer to hang out in the hallway more than anything else I do at a conference. So, if you're at a conference I'm at, come find me, say hi, take a picture with me so that I can tell my social media people that I'm doing things. They get so mad at me because I'll leave a conference with like not one single photo on my phone. And they're like, what did you even do the whole time you were there? I was like, I talked to this person and she's doing this and he's doing that. And they're like, where's the proof? I'm like, it's all here. They're like, I can't use that.
I know I was there, but people, we live in a new world, man. I do the same thing. Sometimes I go to an event, I speak, and then I leave and I'm like, man, I didn't even get one picture with anybody.
I know. So I rely on everybody else. I'm like, please tag me in this photo.
That's right. So some parting words here, but anybody that's just getting started or listening to this, what would be some words of wisdom to that person?
Okay. So I think Will is not special. I am not special. Nobody that's successful at this is special. We were not born with some kind of superpower that made us extraordinarily special. We're just regular people. We just are willing to try one more time. And when it doesn't work, we're willing to try something slightly different to see if that works until we found the formula, and then keep doubling down on that. Keep doubling down on that. And you're going to be scared. It's normal to feel scared. It's normal to feel like you can't do this. We've been told this our whole lives. School is not designed to encourage this kind of thinking. You've been indoctrinated your whole life to believe that 40 hours and a paid vacation with a 401k is the standard. It's not. The standard is what you want for your life. And now there's so much more opportunity to do that than existed 10 years ago, even when I was starting.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, Veena, thank you so much for your time. I learned a lot. I'm sure a lot of people are going to learn a lot. We're going to chop this one up into little bits and pieces because there was a lot of density in it. But it's really important for people to understand. I think what you're doing is incredible. So I'd love to connect again.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.